All right. Listen, this debate, we had it this morning in morning meeting. Everybody had strong opinions on it. Same thing in the afternoon here. Let's go to the phone lines. You folks sound off. Is it parenting, although no one looks forward to spanking, a necessary tool here, or is it bad parenting? Sue calling us from New Jersey. Sue, you're on the line. Go ahead.
Hi, Richard. I enjoy your program very
Thank you.
much. And I really like to tell you about the experience that I had. I'm a 60-year-old woman, and my daughter is 38, and I have spanked her once, and she still brings that up till this day. And I honestly believe that she is the moodiest person. I just blame myself over that. And also she learned from me to spank her brother with the spatula. And one day, my son just said, "Here, go ahead and spank me. I'm not afraid anymore." He just pulled his pants down and said, "Go ahead and spank me." And honest to God, I think the young people, they don't have to take my word for it, but they have to learn from the older people's experience. Not only they scar their children emotionally.
You know, I want to bring in some other callers, Sue. I think it obviously depends on the kid here, but I also think you're being a little too hard on yourself here.
Happy Mother's Day, Sue.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to Rondu calling us in Suffolk County. Thank you for the call, Sue. Rondu, you were on the line. Sue regrets ever spanking her kids here, said it sent the wrong message. How about you?
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
Good.
Well, let me tell you, I definitely believe in spanking. That's the way I was brought up. You know, it wasn't abuse. It was definitely spanking. It kept us in line. I have 6 children. I've spanked all of them. 5 of them are in college. One is finishing her last year of law school. And, you know, they've got out of line a few times in the house, and spanking has definitely put them back in place. You know, these things now with the schools. My youngest son, he's now 11. When he first started kindergarten, he was in school, came home, said, "Daddy, the teacher said you can't spank us or we're to call the police or come back and tell her." You know, I took him up to the school, spoke to them, let them know. You know, it's all a situation where if you don't spank them, they're going to get out of line, they're going to get out of order, and you still have to keep a parent-child relationship with them. You have to let them know that they have to listen, they have to pay attention. You know, you can't let them think that all discipline or control is out the door because
all right.
the school says.
Hey, Rondu, I appreciate the phone call. Let's see if Catherine in Pennsylvania agrees with you. Catherine, last caller said, hey, my kids turned out pretty good, and they knew that there was a line they shouldn't cross in the house. You agree with him?
Well, you know, Richard, thank you for taking my call. I have to tell you, I was spanked when I was growing up. I did indeed spank my children just on the bottom. I am now a 56-year-old grandmother, and I do not believe in spanking at all. I think there are more effective ways to deal with it. Put the children in the room, separate the child from yourself. I think spanking shows that you are out of control person. And what that message says to a child if you're spanking them, hey, I can go hit people. My parents hit me, and I think that's the kind of message you give to your child.
Maybe you're right, Catherine, but I can make an argument that says the amount of people you talk to, they'll remember what they were doing when they got spanked, and they said, I never did that again. I knew one kid who was hurting his pet. I don't know if it's a cat or a dog. And father came in the room, saw him, you know, throwing rocks or whatever, and he got spanked, and he said, I never, looked even cross-eyed at that pet again for the rest of my life. And you can hear stories like that replete, you know?
I don't know how effective the go to your room is anymore. I mean, you guys, because you got TV and computers and PlayStations and all, I mean, sometimes going to your room is a blessing, and you know, you can have a fun old time there.
I think you can do it. I think it depends on the kid, depends on the parent. I think if the kid thinks the parent's going to follow through and not just talk about it, that's one thing. But I was relaying experiences here. I have seen kids that seem to run the households, and the parents don't have to raise a hand to them, but they have to know that you're going to say what's right and wrong, and there's not a gray area. And when they get older, they're going to make their own decisions, but the job of a parent is to set the guidelines for a safe environment, but also one where they do the right thing.
Well, you know, Richard, I think that, you know, listen, if you're spanking your kid once a week, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I really, we talked off air about this, I really think that it is probably much better that if you wind up spanking your kid once, and they know from that moment that you're serious about this, And that along the way, along in life, that you take away the things that they really want if they're bad. I think it's going to have a much more deeper impact on them, that they know, I can't cross that line with my mother or father because it means for the next 2 weeks I can't go out. I can't play Little League this weekend because I did something bad. I think the carrot and the stick for kids works.
And I'll say to Catherine's point, I think was one of my friends whose father was one of the nicest people I ever met. He once looked at him because he did some numbskull thing. I'm sure I was with him when he did it. And he looked at me and said, I'm really disappointed, you carry my last name afterward. The kid was devastated,
right.
And he flew straight. So I think it depends on, how you do it or whatever. Right. And but I will tell you, for all the reaction, the phone line's still jammed on this one. I'm going to invite you to keep talking. Everybody's opinion on this one is as good as anybody else's because, there's no parenting guidebook here, and I think it depends on the kid and certainly the environment.